is Sandy Martini, and I'm the director of the Piero Gallery and the director of cultural affairs for the Village of South Orange. I'm here tonight as a guest host for Meet the Artist for SOMAtv. Tonight I would like to start with just a brief description of an exhibition we have on at the gallery right now. It's called Extrapolate Suggestions of Tony Smith. And as its name implies, all of the artists in the show have been influenced in one way or another by the artist Tony Smith. The show is on view at the Piero Gallery through October 27th, and we'll be having a closing celebration and artist talk on Thursday night, October 25th at 7 p.m. We hope you can come. Okay, well, the real reason we're here tonight is to talk about our upcoming show. I have 4 guests, and we're all here to talk about Ugo Giannini, Drawing D-Day, An Artist's Journey, which opens November 8th and runs through December 20th. Ugo Giannini is no stranger to the Piero Gallery. In fact, his first show there was also one of the first shows in the gallery. It opened in 1996. And today we're revisiting some of his work. Our guests today are co-curators Kathleen McCoy-Bristol.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
And Gary Parks.
Good evening.
So I'm going to read something that Ugo wrote, and then we'll start from there. And you'll get an idea of what the show will be like. Okay, he wrote this from Normandy on June 7th in 1944. He said, "I retraced my way from the battered remains of Vierville-sur-Mer. I walked slowly, dragging my unwilling soul with me and forcing it to inhale the death odor. I was alone, searching for my comrades, 37 men who were hurled ashore yesterday morning, or was it years ago? I walked, stopped, resumed again, always against the visible signs of war. I wanted to forget, to stop thinking or feeling. I wanted to rest or die." Pretty moving words. Kathleen, you have military in your family.
Yes,
This
I do.
show really hits home to you.
It really does. His work is phenomenal, especially not only because it's the only documented work in the world of this particular day, but also because it's so personal. This is his personal experience. He's an artist, and you can't get away from being an artist regardless of where you are. And he carried his tools with him. And this was his way of not only documenting and probably honoring his fallen brethren, but also I would imagine that this is, as an artist, I could put myself in this place that this is also his way of escape, in able to hold on and not lose it, having seen so many of his comrades fall, with only 6 were alive, and he was one of them. And that is, I can't imagine what he would have gone through. But it's the experience of war. He wasn't there in official capacity as an artist. So when he told his story, this was personal. He was there as a soldier. He told the soldier's story. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to have a lot of awareness nowadays for our men and women who are in the military, regardless of the kind of war it is, it's still war. And I see him as the voice for the soldier, for the sailor, for the Marine, for all of those people who are standing in the gap for us. Mm. And that's how I see it.
Thank you. Yeah, very, very eloquent. I guess I should explain that the exhibition, if you haven't gotten it from Kathleen, which I'm sure you did, features a group of drawings that Ugo made on the spot in 1944 during the Normandy invasion of Omaha Beach, as well as even more works throughout his war experiences. It also we'll also be looking at some of his later works that were informed by that experience. Gary, I know you were visibly moved when you went to see the work. And you want to tell us a little bit about your feelings?
A couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, the five of us stood in a relatively small room in Virginia's house in West Orange. And there was just room for the five of us and lots of his work. I was born in 1944. My father was in art school before the war. He wasn't on the beach at D-Day. He spent most of the war painting VD posters and mocking up paper mache atolls. I'm in an air base in Southern California. But I was moved, I think, because his work sort of spans my life, and the work was representational powerfully. It was also abstract, and some of his pieces were both, but they were all intensely keyed to an experience of living, which obviously was profoundly affected by his experience on the beach at Omaha.
We have some of those works here. The works behind you are the direct drawings, some of the direct drawings that he did on the beach and afterwards, and then a later piece, much later piece that he did towards the end of his life. And then some of these. Laura, you're his daughter, and you have fond memories of him, and you brought these pieces.
Yeah, I chose these two pieces to sort of show the wide span, amazing qualities that my dad had as an artist. He wasn't a pigeonholed artist at all. He was all the isms, you know, cubism, surrealism, dadism. You know, he just had a remarkable span. I didn't want him to be pigeonholed as a war artist either, because my dad made those drawings when he was a very young man. And this shows years later how he's doing this like whimsical, surreal, it's called The Sorcerer. And it's very surreal, and it moves, it almost spins, and the colors are so vivid, it looks like he did it yesterday. And I think, Mom, he did this in the 70s? Or?
I think so.
I think this piece was from the 70s.
Yeah.
And then, 1951, my dad did this piece. So that's 20 years earlier, and you can see the vivid use of colors and the magical, whimsical feeling that he had that were not bloody bodies on a beach. So that's particularly why I bought these two today, because I like the color, the vividness, and I wanted to show a range. And that's why I wanted Sandy to come to my house, particularly because there's so much in it, in our house, of my dad's work that is such a range. And I couldn't explain it to you over the, you know, in the office when I met you. It was just too much for me to handle half the time. But
well, you have a lovely photograph of your father.
yeah, I'm carrying this sort of like as a little memento memory. This is the last photo I took of my dad in 1993 before he died. And it says, "My father, Hugo the artist, as a jester." And you can see he has a scrub brush in one hand and a crown on his head. And I wanted to show that he had a really great sense of humor despite the horrors that he lived through, even till the day that he died. So this was just a meaningful piece for me of my own photography. So.
Yeah, well, it's clear to me that, you know, he was a very insightful person and had a full range of human emotion that he could express through his artwork.
Yeah.
And through his life. Maxine, you're his wife.
Yes.
And I know that you've been really involved in looking at his work and thinking about his work and writing about his work for many years, and now you've just come out with, you compiled a book of his drawings and his writings. And we wanted to have this show, not only to show the breadth of his work, but also, you know, to honor his work and your book. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
About the book?
Yes.
Show the
And
cover
how it
of it.
relates to the show.
Well,
Show the cover of it.
I discovered his drawings in '93, and he told me, don't go into the studio for 6 months because you'll be too upset. And when I went into the studio in June, the last work on his easel was H-Hour, which is this work. And H-Hour is the moment of landing. Now here this guy is 73 years old and dying of pulmonary fibrosis, and putting H-Hour up here. So he left me this symbol of the war. H-Hour is the moment of landing. And it was his way of dealing with his last moments, his final landing. And in curating and collating his work in his studio, I found the 27 drawings from World War II that I didn't know existed.
When you saw that drawing H-Hour, did you know what that referred to?
I became an accidental historian of World War II through his works. He left all of the symbolism of the works, and they were hidden. He discussed them with me, or the meaning of them. The Agony at Vierville was the first one done in about '86 or '7, and I had that framed, and he had me putting down dates and times and hours, and I said, why do I have to put these down? You know, I didn't understand how important these were historically and what they were referring to. So it was in retrospect that I discovered his work.
Yeah, my mother is a wealth of information on the 29th Division.
Yeah.
In fact, they should hire her because I think my mom's lived the war again through these letters and.
Well, we're going to take a little break, but when we come back, we'll find out all about the history of the war through these works and through your research. Thank you so much.
Once you're hit by a train, this is the size of bag that we'll use to collect what's left of you on the tracks.
It was a horrible tragedy that could have been averted if we had just stayed off the tracks.
I don't want to have to be the one that has to go tell your parents that you're dead.
Make the right choice. Stay off the tracks.
Thank you for waiting for us, and we're back. Let's go back to Maxine. You were telling us about your journey through history.
Yes, so in going through the studio, in '96 I broke my hip, and I was in the studio and found a notebook filled with the letters of Ugo to his first girlfriend and his first girlfriend's letters to him. And I thought, gee, why did he save these damn things? You know. And
Well, you would have been 12, so.
and I read them, and I thought, this is a history. This is really, there's nothing like it. And so I compiled a book of his drawings and his late works, which were works done from the '80s till the day he died, practically. And the letters to his first girlfriend. I changed her name, and I didn't use her works at all, but just the letters. And then I had an agent. The book was finished, and in 2003, the agent made 49 submissions, and I was turned down 49 times. So I put this book in a box, and I said, it has to be rewritten. And it was only this year that I went through every chapter and slashed the book apart and said what is absolutely essential in the book are the letters from Ugo and his drawings. Everything else can go. So from 400 pages, the book went down to 170. And I think my editor has cut a little bit more. And there are 40 plates in the book, and it's really an art book. But I've got tremendous backup, and everyone is quite excited about the book and feels that it's unique in the history of World War II, that it's a mainstream book that's going to change the way people look at history.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to seeing it, and we're so happy to be a part of it. The drawings are so beautiful, as well as all of the paintings. And we really enjoyed spending time in the studio and in your home. We got to look at a lot of different kinds of work that Ugo made, and we trying to, look at them and see, how these work experiences might have infiltrated his normal life kind of paintings and drawings, even some similar to the ones that you brought. And some of the things we noticed for this aerial view that he had in some of the paintings, maybe of a city or a military complex.
Well, he did, one thing that he did, Sandy, was he used a lot of symbols, like 29 for the 29th Division, H-hour, 116th Infantry, there's like 106, the regiment. There's a piece where my dad just made a collage out of cardboard, but then he took his boot, painted it red, and slammed it through it.
Right.
So there was this anger still, and this, this certain war mentality that came through even the later works. There were a lot of slashes, a lot of crosses, and he told me symbolism, what it meant. He would talk to me about, and I would what is this? And he once told me that the cross, he uses a lot of the cross. And he said it's not just a religious symbol. It means that a man is either up or down, living or dead. A tree, nature, is either up or down, living or dead. And I remember talking to my dad about this symbolism, that he uses many times, or arrows. He uses a lot of arrows. And he said to me that there are arrows wherever you look. There are directions, go here, go there. And that to me seemed like war related in a sense.
Absolutely. At the time, did you put those ideas together, or was it
Well,
after you'd seen
yeah,
the work
I think
that he left?
I think it was. I started to see my dad as like a symbolist, because he could really paint in any style.
He wrote about that too, and he felt that the symbol was the total expression of your intent. Whatever you had, the symbol would carry that message forward. Yes, so it was.
I think he really used the symbols.
But it was also so visual.
Yeah, and there's always like a cross coming out, beaming through, especially in his later works. There's this little paper one, I don't know if you saw it. It was like paper that you would get when you would buy writing paper, that it came in, and it had like R's on it or something, and then he just took this paper, and then he burnt this cross through it. And so it's very, did you see it? It was on the ground, and there's so many pieces. But this cross is a very powerful symbol in his work that I see all the time.
Kara, you and Kathleen are both artists, and that's one of the reasons I thought you would be a great team to work on this exhibition.
Yeah, great.
So how did seeing his work, and how did your response to it and your work as an artist, could you relate your work as an artist with his work? Were there any things that meshed or that maybe would inform the way you curate this show?
Absolutely. For me, art is learning about the way things are by expressing the way things are. There's a sort of a Taoist idea, and I think artists name the nameless. They capture their experience and their understanding of the way things are. There are differences, huge differences between, Hugo could draw. I'm terrified of drawing. But there are similarities in the palettes that he used. He clearly had a habit of learning from other artists. I understand he studied with Ferdinand Léger, but you can see it in the work over a period of time. I'm a theft of ideas.
That's true. He studied every artist as Picasso did. Picasso, had every artist in his work. But I remember in the late 50s, he did a series of leaves, and it was the first time that I saw him free and clear. I saw no influence other than his eye and his vision. It took into the 50s, but he referred prior to that to Léger.
I just wanted to
to
interrupt
Picasso.
and say one quick thing. My dad was not only an artist, he was an art teacher. For 26 years, he taught art at Caldwell College. And so he was studying with the kids and teaching the kids to look at art, who to look at and what to look for. And so my dad was sort of teaching himself too, and so he wasn't just an isolated artist, he was a very much in the community artist.
You can totally see that he's engaged in every idea,
Right.
of the 20th century. That he's
Right. So I remember my dad not only drawing or painting, I remember him studying, like books, just tons of books, everything. He had to teach art history. He once told me he had to teach anatomy. He didn't even know what it was. It was like, he had to figure this out, He got this job. That was another thing, him getting a job, But he did. He got a job as a teacher, and he was well loved and respected. He had people at his funeral that were like crying, and they had been his students, and he had a whole life other than my mother and us with the college and
he
the
was a very
students.
engaged man.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things that excites me about this exhibit is that we get to look at him learning over several decades, and expressing in different ways about the way things are. I think that'll inform the way we do the exhibit, because it's our job to see if we can capture this.
That's what I wanted so badly. I wanted him to be seen like in a broad sense and not just pigeonholed. I didn't want my dad to be known as the war artist. Although they're incredible, amazing, and
well, they're quite a historic document.
But he went and painted and did his thing for 50 years more after that.
Goya did war works that are tremendous, and Homer did war works. He was in the Civil War, and an artist expresses himself wherever he is and whatever he experiences, and it's I think unique that this guy was not hired by the War Department, and that he did this spontaneously.
What happened to the real guy? Did he die, Ma?
Who is that?
The real guy that was supposed to be on the beach doing the art?
They didn't put it was Sir Kenneth Clark, who had 3 artists he wanted to put on D-Day on Omaha, and he was advised, you put 3 guys and you're going to have 3 guys less. So the statistics...
Well, the 4th guy did the job.
The statistics, he wasn't hired by them.
Yeah, that's true.
There were 10,000 boats, 100,000 men, and 9,500 deaths that day. And Dad was right there in the midst of so.
And as I understand it, he had a job to do. He wasn't.
I'm sorry?
So he had a job to do besides drawing. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
so you know, it seems to me that the art came out of the doing his job in
Yeah.
this intense
Yes.
Exactly.
experience.
that was the other thing that I was always surprised, like, when my dad say, "Okay, guys, stay still for a minute. I just gotta get the sketch out before the bomb comes." You know, it wasn't like it wasn't like a drawing class where they had models.
It was right
Yes.
So
in
he
the
was
terror
telling
of the
you,
moment.
he was telling you all this stuff all the time
Yeah.
about the war,
Yeah.
and you didn't really realize it.
Well,
because
you know.
he had so internalized it.
So I
Yeah.
have one letter if we're going to wind up before.
Okay, we have a couple more minutes.
This is to his mother and dad, March 18th, 45. Dear Mother and Dad, here it is Sunday. Long ago, the day lost all meaning, but there's something special about today's Sunday. Maybe it's the mood the weather is in. Maybe it's me recalling the sweetness of lost Sundays, or perhaps the lingering memory of some song I haven't heard in years. Across the road is a church. Artillery and bombs have added a grotesque touch to its original design. Churches always appear so eternal, so indestructible, just like those last Sundays, but I am looking at it now with its guts spilled out, and the only thing I have of Sunday is a memory. The civilians were their Sunday best. Most of them are old people and very young people, occasional in between. One wonders where they come from. The majority of houses are only rubble and shells. These people are not unhappy. I've seen them from the coast of France to the Rhine, and these people who have suffered the hell of two armies, who have had their nearest kin killed, whose houses are desolate ruins, who have no luxuries, eat black bread, etc., etc. These people are pale, timid, weary, unconscious of the fierce drama they are part of. These people are the people of the world, crushed, oppressed, yet they smile and wear their Sunday best today.
Wow, thank you so much.
Beautifully written.
So moving. So everyone, Ugo Giannini, Drawing D-Day, An Artist's Journey, opens November 8th and runs through December 20th. Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.